So to make this dress, I made use of 3 yards of Mikado fabric. I made use of 1 yard of Aba lining, 1 yard of hard net, my zipper, this trimming, and then this piece of lace. I also introduced a medium weight paper sleeve. The focus of this video will be on the upper bodice. So I went ahead and folded my fabric into 4 pieces. We're cutting the back and the front at the same time. Now the length of our half cut is 12.5 inches, but I went ahead to measure 13 inches. Next is our shoulder measurement. Our shoulder measurement is 12 inches divided by 2 is 6 inches plus half inches seam allowance 6.5 inches. So I'll mark it out. Then from that point, I'm going to come down by half inch for my shoulder slope. Then from that my shoulder slope line, I'm going to measure 6.5 inches, and then that will be my armhole line. My chest measurement is 29 inches divided by 4 is 7.25 inches. Then I added 2 inches seam allowance. For my waistline, I have 27 inches divided by 4 is 6.25 inch. Then I added 2 inches and then I marked it out. So on the waistline, I'm going to come up by half inches and then I'll just curve it a little bit in. Even though this my own was looking too much, just curve it a little bit in. For my neck width, I measured 3 inches, while the neck depth for the front is also 3 inches. Then I connected it. My back neck depth is 1 inches. We go ahead and connect it. Now my back piece is 2 inches wider than the front because we are cutting it together. So we'll go ahead and cut off. So at this point, you can go ahead and adjust your front armhole. You can just come in a little bit, but I didn't do that. I also went ahead and slashed my back piece open. Then I marked out my zipper line and notched it. Now for my belt piece, I have this piece of fabric. I folded it into 2 and then I folded it again like in a triangular form. That's I folded it 4 times. We want to cut out 2 belts. Then I measured it. My belt length measures 36.5 inches. Then I'll go ahead and cut it. So I normally do not like the straight belt. Like, I don't even know how it looks, but I just prefer this once I'm making a child's dress. So I prefer this. I feel like it looks fancy, it looks beautiful and all that. So we have these 2 pieces. I'm going to separate it and then we go ahead and sew. For my sleeve piece, I have this piece of fabric folded into 4 already. We are cutting out 2 sleeves, and then the sleeve length we are measuring here is 8 inches, whereas her actual sleeve length is 4 inches. But because we are going to be adding elastic, and then because we also want it to puff, we want to give room for puffiness, so that's why I measured 8 inches. Now for the wideness also, I measured 8 inches extra also because I'm going to be pleating it. So I just marked it out that way. Now just watch what I'm doing and then you will understand. Now to my sleeve proper, I'll go ahead and come down by 4.5 inches and then I'm going to mark it out. So from that point, I'll just connect it this way. So you can decide to also come up by half inches. I also love doing this. I don't like it poking, but then this is optional. So we go ahead and cut. So after cutting, I'll go ahead and notch the center point, then also notch this my extras because that's where I'm going to be pleating. So this is what we have. So by the time we pleat and pleat and pleat, and then we'll still go ahead to add elastic on the bottom part, everything will fall in place. So the front bodice has like a band at the front, okay? So now I'm going to fold this my piece of fabric into 2 and then we go ahead and cut our band. Now for this band, I'm going to measure about 18 inches length for the band. And then I'll mark it out. For the width, I'm going to measure 2 inches so that by the time we finish sewing, we'll be left with about 1.5 inches, right? So I measured 2 inches here and then we go ahead and cut. Remember, this is on fold. So it was shaking at this point, so I had to use office pin to hold it in place before I went ahead and cut. Now for my upper bodies, I went ahead to cut my lining, and then this is what we have. But we are not done with the front piece. We need to still make some adjustments and some additions. Now I'm going to introduce my lace fabric, then I'm going to try and place it in a way that I'll be able to cut out that design to fit in nicely, and then I already cut it out. This is what we have. So I'll go ahead and fold in the edges, and then I'll sew at that point. Then this is what we have. After sewing, we'll go ahead and turn the neckline and then the sides, and then I'll also do the same thing to the back. I'll go ahead and turn the back piece with our lining piece. So for the pleated design on the front, I went ahead and folded this piece of fabric into two. Then I measured out 18 inches width. That is how wide I want it to be. You can actually decide to make it more. It's your choice. And then for the length on this folded edge, I came up by 9.5 inches. You can see that from the design is not straight, right? Is a bit slopey. So now on this point, I'm going to come up by 4 inches. So I will just go ahead and connect it. Then we cut it out. After cutting it out, this is what we have. So we'll go ahead and introduce our interface to it. Now this is my interface. I already ironed it on it. Now you can see I left like 1 inch from the center and then 1 inch from the edge, and you can see this is the center. So I didn't put my interface from the beginning. I'll go ahead and sew. Now after sewing, we'll go ahead and notch out the excess fabric. Let me explain why I did not iron this interface from the beginning, why I left those gap. The reason is because at the end of the day, I'm going to be folding those places in. So, and I don't want that place to carry so much excess fabric, you understand? I don't want it to be so hard. So that's why I did that. We'll turn it out and then we ironed it, and then this is what we have. The next thing we're going to do is to form our pleats. Now I measured out 1 inch here and then 1 inch here. Now what we have left at the center is what we're going to be using for our pleats. Now what we have left is what, 14 inches. So I'll go ahead and share it into 3 because I want to make 3 pleats. So my 3 points, I have 3.5, 7 inches, then 10.5. So you can see we already marked 3 points at the middle, and each of them is 3.5 different. So I'll go ahead and pick the center, and then we match it to that 3.5 inches line. Just watch. I'll hold the center, match it to that line we have, and then I'll hold the center again and then match it to that line. So that line we have will go in. Do you understand? So that's basically what I did for me to be able to form my pleats. We hold it and then we take that our line inside, and then this is what we have. I already have my 3 pleats. I'll go ahead and press it so that it can stay in place, and then this is what we have. Now for this edge, I'm going to fold here in, and then I'll also still fold this other side in. You can decide to actually fix yours like that, but this is how I wanted to do mine. Now this is our upper bodies. We already turned in the lining and all that, so I want to introduce this our design. So I'm going to mark out our center front, and then looking from the design, this was attached a bit after our center point. So now I fixed my own, and then I'll go ahead and stitch it up before introducing this band. So after doing it, this is what we have. We've sewn it, so I'll go ahead and trim off the excess piece of fabric we have, and then we introduce our band piece, and then we go ahead and stitch it by the side to hold it in place. And I'll also introduce my belt. I already turned it out. Now I'm going to fix it at this band too. So I'm going to fix it from the beginning. That's from this the upper part of the band. at least you want to leave space for where you will join your main fabric, right? Then the next thing we did is to go ahead and join our front bodies to our back bodies, and then we also went ahead and joined the sides, and this is what we have. This is my sleeve already attached to the elastic, so we'll go ahead and join our sleeve to the upper bodies. Now I went ahead to do something here because I didn't want this design to be dangling, so I went ahead and stitched here inside, stitch here inside. So you stitch here, you stitch here, you stitch here. So at the end of the day, the stitches is going to hide inside, okay? So you can go ahead and do that. That was what I did to my own. Then before I went ahead to attach the lower, and this is the end result of what we have. If you know you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching.